All right, Roger, if you're there, you go. There you
Yes.
go.
Yep. So I will call this meeting of the 2024 IFC tag to order. The agenda is on the screen shared. I think welcomes and introductions will be Dustin to go through a attendance of the tag committee members, and then I will allow any members of the public that would like to be recognized after that.
All right, I'll begin a roll call. Roger Haringa,
I am here.
Ning Wang. Let me get my tools up. All right, not hearing that one. Alternate Jacob Liddycoat.
Yep, here.
Thank you. Then Quinn Tai. Not seeing him in the room. Ray Shipman. There's the alternate. Not seeing either. Ken Brulette.
Present.
Thank you. Hugo Sotelo.
Present.
Thank you. Mike Nykrum.
Here.
Ricky Campbell.
Present.
Thank you. Walker Danucci. Looking for the alternate then for Dave Kokot.
Dustin Walker did reach out and say he would be here about 3. So
Oh, I misread that and thought he was going to be here till 3. So I'll just keep an eye out for him to join us.
yeah.
All right. Sean Morgan.
Present.
Thank you. David Mao. Not seeing him in there. Zach Tuck.
Present.
Thank you. Lance Dahl. And I'm not seeing him in there. And that brings us to the end of our roll call.
Including the alternates, Dustin?
I'm going to go back after I
Okay.
do the quorum count.
Okay.
We have a quorum, 7 out of 12. And then calling for the alternates, let's see. Kevin Marr.
Present.
Thank you. And I think that's all of the alternates that were not already called, with the primaries being missing.
Okay. Are there any members of the public that would like to be recognized?
I believe I'm on the committee. This is Bill Maybush. I didn't hear my name.
Oh, I skipped you and I have a mark in your spot. So apologies, Bill.
No worries.
Dustin, I see James up. Do you see the hands?
I see a hand. I got James Knowles.
Okay.
Yes, sir. James Knowles, the proponent for the emergency code change that we'll be discussing today on item number 4. I just want to introduce myself, let everyone know that I'm here to answer questions and have discussions as needed with the group. There are a bunch of people behind me that are probably going to raise their hand and say simply that they're here to support our cause and our emergency code change. So I would just ask all of them to be short, sweet, and respectful, and then go from there, sir. Thank you.
Like next we have someone from the iPhone.
Yeah, Bill Taylor, Pipe Barker Fire and Safety. I'm here to support the code change. Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody? We've got Nick.
Yeah, Nick Stiltner, Johnson Controls, here to support item 4 in the emergency rule consideration.
Thank you. Are there, we have Andrea Smith.
Hi, Andrea Smith with the Building Industry Association of Washington.
Thank you. Mary Cranbring.
I'm with AAA Fire Protection in Seattle, here to support Jamie Knowles and the emergency code change.
We have Doug Vandecovering. Doug, if you were saying anything, you were muted when you did.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry about that. Doug Vandecouvering, Performance Systems Integration, Puget Sound, here to support the emergency rule consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Guy Cutler.
Thank you. Guy Cutler with Performance Systems Integration, Portland. I'm here to support Jamie Knowles with the emergency change.
Chris Bingham.
Chris Bingham with Alexander Gao Fire. I'm here to support Jamie Knowles with this decision.
Joshua Garcia.
I'm Josh Garcia, Alexander Gao Fire in Seattle. I'm here to support Jamie in the emergency code change proposal.
Kendall Liddycoat.
Hi there, Kendall Liddycoat, Metro Safety and Fire out of Portland, Oregon. Also here to support Jamie and FEMA's emergency code change.
All right, White Knight.
Hi, this is Andy Schwartz with White Knight Fire Protection, and I'm here to support Jamie Knowles with FEMA emergency code change.
And Mike Wessinger.
Hi, I'm Mike Wiesinger with AAA Fire. I'm here to support the FEMA's emergency code change proposal.
All righty. Is there anybody else here in the room that wish to be recognized? We got Joshua Gualco.
Yeah, this is Joshua Gualco with Alexander Gale Fire Equipment, here to support Jamie with the industrial fire system code change.
And Dustin, Dave Pelton with NAFED is here as well. I'm trying to find my raise the hand button, and I have had some difficulty, so apologies for that.
That is okay. Next I have Mike with Huser Fire. Mike, if you are speaking, I think you're on mute.
Oh, there we go. I said it's Mike with Huser Fire, here to support Jamie Knowles and the council cold change. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, is there anybody else who would wish to be recognized from the public? All right, seeing no hands, nobody speaking up, I believe it's time to move on to item number 3, which is reviewing and approving our minutes.
Dustin, I think that we need to review and approve the agenda first.
Oh, you're correct. I'm sorry.
So
speeding.
The agenda is on the screen. Does anybody have any comments about it? And if not, could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes, Roger, this is Ricky Campbell.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as distributed.
Do I have a second?
Second, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. And any other discussion? Then would all of the primary members, if you are in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. So that's our agenda. The next would be to review and approve the minutes from our last 2 meetings, April 16th and 23rd. Those were distributed in the agenda, but I think if you would put them up. Ken, you have your hand up. Do you have a question or?
No, I was just going to make a motion to approve the minutes when they're up.
Okay.
So we have the April 16th minutes here. And I'll scroll through them, and if anybody would like me to stop, I can stop and rewind if you need.
That was the
That's-
16th.
Yes, sir. And then I'll move to the 23rd. And
So I'll
that
just
concludes that.
yeah, I'll just conclude with, I'll make a motion to approve the March 16th and March 23rd minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Ricky Campbell will second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All of the primary members who are in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. So now we move on to item number 4, emergency rule consideration. And Ken, are you going, your hand is up. Are you going to do the presentation?
No, I'm going to make a motion.
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion to accept NAFED's proposal. I believe it's number 1. If you could show that, Dustin.
Yep, coming right up.
And just, I'm Ken Burlett, representing the Washington State Association of Fire Marshals, and my motion is to accept the proposal to add in exception 2 into the language.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jake. I will ask for any discussion, and I guess I would like to be clear. This goes back to the original proposal that got sent to the State Building Code Council last month. Is that what we're looking at, Dustin? For sure.
Correct. This is the exact proposal sent to the council at the last, or provided to us, and we viewed at the last council meeting.
Okay. And since I will be at the meeting where we will accept or discuss the conversation that we had, can I have, I guess could I have the Reader's Digest version of the meeting that was held last week? Were there concerns that were brought to the table and addressed, or was there just general acceptance of the proposal?
Well, we had 2 meetings actually. We had the one that we advertised at the last tag meeting, and at that first meeting we heard from James and some folks from NICET as well, and folks from NAFED, and they kind of presented the situation as it exists today. We had a bit of discussion there, and then the members of the work group broke out and met yesterday to discuss what we're bringing forward here today to everybody. So there were some concerns expressed. One of the big ones is the level of experience that the NAFED licensing requires upon initial certification versus the NICET licensing. The experience required to get that is built into the licensing, as I understand. If you get the ICC NAFED certificate, it comes out with a green border, and anybody off the street can, with competent knowledge, go in, take that test with potentially no experience, and obtain a license. In order to renew that certificate, you have to do that through the NAFED body, and you have to submit some experience requirements for that. And the certificate that comes out from that body is has a different appearance than the one issued by the ICC, and it comes with a red border. And so there's a little bit of a concern on, if you can get the license with no experience, that you are potentially an inexperienced technician, installer, working with these systems. And that is I would say, the primary concern. And if I haven't quite hit the mark, I would definitely welcome members of the work group to speak on my behalf. All right.
Okay.
Not seeing any
I,
hands going up.
yeah, no, I have one more question, and that is that when in the meeting documents, when I click on the alternate, there, besides adding the exception, there are some other edits
Yes.
up above.
So-
And so I'm curious, is the motion to just accept the exceptions or also the edits that are up above?
I think that would be my
Edits.
question for Ken as well.
I'm looking at the paperwork right now and I just see the exception 2 number added. I don't know what other things what other edits is underlined.
So in our work group yesterday, we discussed some other concerns that were that the language brought forward in proposal 50 during the 2021 adoption cycle kind of had some omissions when we drafted CR 102 for this. So prepared here, we have some more changes identified that don't relate necessarily to that exception that's added in. So Ken, would your motion include these changes that we discussed, or are we just talking about what was on the screen previous?
Right now, my motion is only what the exception number 2. I think the other items which are showing right now, I think that should be handled differently. I don't think that should be part of this proposal that NAFED submitted because they did not include that language on there. That was something that I thought was going to be handled editorially based on what got missed during the CR 102 process.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So just in the discussion yesterday, I could pull up the proposal documents. The initial proposal came through where we were going to strike the language that we had and go to the NICET licensing in the 2021 language. When this was actually drafted, the dates pushing out the effective date for that new licensing requirement became part of the draft documents. And so language that you see here highlighted and underlined are items that were identified in the work group that were intended to be drafted into the 2021 language, but with the change in the way it was presented was not included. So this was intended to be struck from the language and have the new NICET language, but when it was included as this was going to hang around for a little bit, this didn't get any attention during the drafting process and remains the same as it did prior. And so there's some modifications that are present in the proposal document that were not in the draft language that is now on the books.
Okay, so I'm gonna, there are some hands up that I will call on here, but to be clear, the motion is only to accept exception 2, and I would suggest that the other editorial comments that are proposed could very well be handled as part of the full council discussion and presentation. So at this point, the motion is only to add exception number 2. So Ricky, would go ahead.
Yes, as a part of being on this work group, we did come up with a couple of other solutions. I don't know, Dustin, if you can bring that up or pop that up there where it said recertification of the NAFED. I think I'm in favor of that. The exception, the red highlighted one down there. This is what I would stand by myself.
And Ricky, Ricky and or Dustin, can I clarify the renewed is something that the work group added in, the word renewed?
Correct. Anything that's highlighted in the document that you see now is something in addition to the proposal submitted by James. And the renewed has to do with the experience requirements in the licensing. So if you have a renewed certificate, it looks different and would also indicate a level of experience attained in order to get that license.
Okay. David P.
Mr. Pelton.
Thank you. I thought I had heard, and maybe it was just a misspoke, that there was a mention of option 2. I think we're still talking option 1 here as the motion. Is that correct?
I think he meant the exception, the addition of exception 2 in option 1.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that for, I guess, the interest of the various parties. So, thank you.
Thank you, David. Walker?
So I guess there's discussion on what exactly we want to approve, but I'm going through section chapter 9. So would I be incorporating these changes under 904 as part of my first pass on the change in the reports for Friday?
I would say if this wasn't included during that deadline, it's not going to be the end of the world on this one. So this is emergency and is being kind of done right now. Yes, we want to get it included, but if it's not done at our deadline for the work that we're doing right now, it's not going to be as critical as it could be if this was some of the other stuff that's in there. This is ongoing rulemaking.
Okay, and then I had one other item I wanted to note, just that since I'm looking at the base IFC language for 2024, I just wanted to note that base IFC language just refers to approved governmental agency or other approved organization for the type of system and work performed. So it's agnostic. And past state amendments are what made it specific to ICC NAFED.
And the kind of without topic did come up during our work group breakout that the model language is a bit ambiguous, and we were trying to make it consistent across the state to make it a little bit easier for jurisdictions who may not be the experts in the licensing to know where to go to see what's going on with this trade.
Okay, James.
Yeah, this is new, a surprise to us. The additional language that was added, the words renewed.
Point of order. Point of order.
That was not
please.
discussed in our
Mr. Chair.
James.
It was not discussed in the work group on Friday. It
Hold
might
on.
have been discussed yesterday, but it wasn't discussed Friday. So I just want to comment on it.
James, can you hold on? There's a point of order question. Ken, go ahead.
We're supposed to only be discussing the motion of adding the exception number 2, and we're showing language that's not in the motion. I was hoping we could just show the motion, the exception number 2, and call for a vote unless there's any other discussion on that exception number 2. We're not at that point to discussing the other things that were just shown in red, or are we modifying, or am I modifying the motion? Right now, the motion is just to add the exception number 2.
As identified, as shown on the plan on the screen right now.
You got it. Thank you.
Okay. So I agree with the point of order. The motion is on the table right now is to just add exception 2. James, do you still have comments?
Yes. Yeah. I would say thank you to the work group on Friday. We had a robust conversation that was constructive, and we did discuss those 2 different certificates for sure. And I would support any vote that would be adopting our second proposal from FEMA like this is. So thank you very much for that. I would be very concerned about any changes of language to this, specifically about renewal. So thank you. I did appreciate that, but thank you. I'm done.
Okay. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As a point of order, as an alternate, am I able to speak for or against the motion?
Anybody here can speak for or against the motion. When we come down to a vote, it will only be the primary members that are part of the quorum that can vote.
Okay, thank you. So I'm opposed to the motion. I'm speaking against the motion. With our work group, just to reiterate it, there was a lot of concern of having some kind of prior training prior to being certified. So my thought was I'm against the motion, even though I'm not actually going to vote. But then my second part is, Ken, would you be accepted to a friendly amendment to the motion?
Not right now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any other comments? Then I believe, Dustin, it is time for a roll call vote. I would ask you to ask for a vote from all the primary. I believe that Walker has now joined, so when you went through attendance, he was not here, so I'm not sure if others have joined as well. So
Gotcha. I will do a full roll call again for primary. First, Ning Wing. And I'm not seeing her online, so we'll call for the alternate. Jacob Liddycoat.
Yep. For it.
Okay. Quinn Tai. Not seeing him online. For Ray Shipman as the alternate in that position, who I'm also not seeing in the guest room. Ken Brulette.
Yes.
Hugo Sotelo.
I oppose.
Mike Nykrum.
Considering I've had a heck of a time with Zoom, I've been out of the entire conversation, so I guess I abstain.
Abstain. Bill My Bush.
Yes.
Ricky Campbell.
No.
Walker Danucci.
Present.
For the vote on the accepting of this motion.
I vote no.
Okay. Sean Morgan.
Present. I vote no.
Zachary Tuck, or is David Mao here? I don't see him in here. Zach Tuck.
Present. Vote no.
And Lance Dahl.
Vote yes.
1, 2. So 4 to 5 yeses and nos with 1 abstention. The motion fails.
okay. I will ask for any other conversation, or if there is anybody that would like to make another motion.
Roger, I would like to make a motion that we put forth the amended language that the work group had put out there, and I would like to move that forward for a vote.
Okay, that is a motion. I will take that as a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, Zachary Tuck. I second that motion.
All right. Dustin, can you put that language up on the screen? My understanding that is adding the word renewed.
Well, I would maybe suggest that we clarify, are we talking about all of these changes in this section, or just the option 1 with the renewed certificate? For this would be the closest to what was submitted by James.
Ricky?
I'm just trying to, because Roger, you gave us the impression that this other language change can be dealt with the building code council later.
Yeah.
Then I would say just the statement where we revised it.
I will respond, Ricky. Yes, we can deal with the editorial changes, if it is not a substantive change. As a member of the State Building Code Council, I guess I would ask this group that understands the differences, the edits a little bit better than all of the State Building Code Council members. I would prefer that we, as a IFC tag, either approve or disapprove those, but it also, your motion can be just about 904.1.1. If somebody wanted to make a motion to then address all of the other items up above separately, we could do that as well. So it's kind of, as the maker of the motion, you can, it is up to you if you want to limit it to just the 2 exceptions, or if you want to include everything.
Let's clean up everything. Let's be efficient.
Okay, that's what the motion, second, whoever the second one was, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, and I will assist with the rewriting of the entire section.
Okay. So now there's a motion and a second discussion. David P.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is it, I guess, is open discussion possible here, or a comment, or?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to mention a couple things. That certainly the ICC NAFED certification program is a joint program. It's not a standalone ICC nor a standalone NAFED that I think may have been perhaps not directly inferred, but maybe misstated, earlier. It is intentionally designed to be focused at certain disciplines within fire protection, and intentionally designed to challenge those individuals. The fact that ICC does not have a work requirement should, in my personal opinion, having been in this industry for decades, be viewed as a negative. The employer and that individual knows best, based on that individual's competency, capability, knowledge, and technical experience, whether they are ready to step forward to take a certification, irrespective if that certification is ICC, NAFED, NFPA, NICET, and or others. Yes, others may have a work experience tied to them. The other, I guess, and then a final comment is, when looking at other ICC standalone certifications that may be connected to fire, code enforcement official, or fire marshal, those certifications do not have any work requirements connected to them either. Now, a couple of those may have a course or class prerequisite, but again, there is no work requirement. If there is a work requirement, that is, again, most likely, I would have to believe, and I'm not a code enforcement official in the state, nor a fire marshal, but if there is one connected to those positions, I would have to believe that is left up again to that particular jurisdiction as it relates to those individuals who may be interested in pursuing those opportunities and roles. So I just wanted to, point out that if you feel that, this is something that average Joe on the street can pass, and I know that there's going to be some that are going to think differently here. I would challenge you on that. So I just wanted to bring that out as a broader perspective, that a work experience requirement is not uncommon, not only with the ICC NAFED, but as I mentioned, all ICC certifications. Thank you.
Thank you, David. James?
Yes.
And I am just going to ask, because we're a relatively new group, make sure that we specify who you are representing. Not all. Yeah, I know James is not part of an official member of the tag, but I think as we go through this discussion, it would be beneficial for everybody to just state who they're representing. So go ahead, James.
You bet. I'm James Knowles with Amerex and FEMA, the Fire Equipment Manufacturers Association, and we have been the proponent on this emergency code change and been involved from sort of the beginning of that process and up till now for sure. The adding of this language, the renewed in the two exceptions that are listed under 904.1.1, those two exceptions may appear to be innocuous, but they are not. What they will do is create a 3-year waiting period after you pass the test and get your certification before you're allowed to work in that discipline. So they really aren't practical or realistic, frankly, because you're going to have a technician that is working in his discipline. He'll then get enough confidence from his employer to go take the ICC test. He'll take the ICC test, pass that, and when he does, right, he's going to get a certificate, a new certificate, not a renewal certificate. And then he's not going to be able to use that to do business in the state of Washington the way this is written. So he's then going to have to sit there for 3 years and wait until he can renew his certificate, which requires some continuing education. Then he'll resubmit that, and then he'll get the second certificate, which is the renewal certificate, and then he'll be permitted to work in the state of Washington. It really just is not practical, nor was it discussed with us, this particular option of adding the renewal. We would have told them that on Friday, that this just practically can't really be implemented. It just doesn't fit. If the state of Washington desires a work requirement, right, we are happy to entertain that with them, and thought that the second proposal that was just voted down, the time allotment that was in the extension that was part of that, was designed to have that discussion if you wanted to, and add an extra work requirement that was practical to this situation. But adding renewed creates a 3-year waiting period for any of these technicians to be able to do work. And then, so they take the tests, they can't do anything for 3 years, right? And then they're supposed to practically get back into that business. It just doesn't fit this way. So there's my comment. I apologize for taking so long.
That's fine. I will just comment that the second alternate has not been voted down. All we did was there was a proposal to accept option 1, and that was voted down. So option 2, we've not voted down anything at this point.
Thank you, Frank, for that clarification. I had a misconception, sir.
Okay.
So thank you for that.
Yep, and I believe it's Hugo is the IPAI. You're next.
Yeah, this is Hugo Sotelo representing cities and counties. For the voting members, is it possible before our next meeting to get this working document, give us some time to kind of understand the information, do our own kind of research before we vote on any future changes?
That is possible. Our deadline for having our answer, we want to put this forward to the Building, Fire, Plumbing Committee before the council meeting at the end of May. And we're also trying to bring our reports to that same committee. So this could be added to that agenda at that time for their consideration, and then on up to the Building Code Council. So I don't have the dates right in front of me right at the moment, but just the week before the 22nd, I do believe.
Yeah, we would potentially have 2 more tag meetings prior to that we could. So if that influences somebody's vote, we could still what's the word I'm thinking of? Delay this vote and vote next week if people felt like that was important. But at this point, there is a motion on the table to accept all of the editorial language shown. So Quinn?
Yeah, this is Quinn representing Washington building officials. I apologize I'm late, but I am here now for Roger and Dustin for record tracking. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you, Quinn.
Ricky, you're next up on my list. I'm not sure if that's a hand up or if you're still, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a hand up. I just kind of wanted to clarify my point of view when we had the discussion and we added the renewed certification. So I'm fairly ignorant when it comes, and I represent the manufacturers and suppliers for the IFC tag, just so everybody knows. I'm assuming that there is ICC NAFED certificate holders currently in the industry, as well as the NET level 2 or level 3 currently that could man this. Yes, I understand that the new guy coming in off the street, your guys are trying to train him and get him geared up. Hopefully he's going to be working underneath that certificate holder that currently has it and is being trained properly. The biggest hurdle that I personally see with this is the training. You know, NICET, I think, does a very good job on it, and I'm saying ICC and AFED is a great standard that we all work with. I just think it's not a dead all. There has to be certificate holders out there currently. Am I wrong?
I'm gonna let James respond to that. He's probably the one with the best information.
I would say to you that they added it for kitchen as well as industrial, and there are 100% not enough ICC certified people to fully do that on the kitchen side with the renewal, because that was just required recently in the state. So they're still in that 3-year waiting period. And I don't believe that there's enough people out there that currently have certifications that would be able to service every wet paint spray operation that has a dry chem system in the States. No, I don't think there's enough to man this. And creating a 3-year waiting period is just not what I think the intention is. Work experience, yay, let's have that discussion. Let's do something practical. But creating a 3-year working waiting period is something I did not comprehend was going to happen. And it creates an entirely different problem on the kitchen side, because now we're talking about every single restaurant in the state, 2 maintenances a year. So I'm super thrown off by this. I apologize to the committee.
That's fine. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking for a point of clarification on the 90411 as shown on the screen. Jamie interpreted that as taking obviously the renewed as the discussion we have been talking here, but I guess fundamentally, if I read it literally, and I'm looking for a clarification from the tag here, I could interpret this as going forward post, say, enactment, if it were to be voted and accepted, that only NICET would be allowed or required going forward. No longer would ICC NAFED be allowed. Am I reading that correctly or misreading that? And then I also have a second question, Mr. Chair, or comment.
I am going to ask for somebody other than myself. That's not my understanding, but I don't feel like I'm the most qualified to answer that question, David. Does somebody else have a better answer? My understanding is that it would be that ICC NAFED renewed certifications would be allowed. And I do understand James's comment. I believe that would be a 3-year waiting period. I'm not sure of the code language of renewed certification, if that's defined someplace. So I have some technical questions about it as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess the follow-up comment would be back to Ricky and to others. Again, just a point of reminder, NICET focuses as part of their curriculum, heavy portion on design. Pre-engineered systems, the design parameters are already established. And that's why design relative, in broader speaking terms, has been defined by the manufacturer as part of their third-party certification. So I want to make sure that, everybody understands when we're talking about the design requirements of the system, dealing with min-max pipe lengths, types of nozzles, pressures, cylinder sizes, on and on and on. Those have been predetermined. Within NICET's testing program, they address a completely different type of system. That is the custom design or the engineered. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mike, you're next.
So, can you hear me? Is that?
Yep. We can hear
Okay,
you.
well, the space bar does work then on, so we're in the discussion period, right? Just point of order here. Is that correct?
We are in discussion of the motion that is to accept all of the modified language that is on the screen, including there is some up above on the page, Mike. This was the document that got forwarded as part of attached to the meeting minutes. So.
Okay, yeah, thank you on that. And so we can, Chair, we can converse with other things. Like I'd like to ask James more questions.
Yeah, he's the proponent, so I think that that's very appropriate for you to ask him specific questions.
Okay, and James, are you a voting member of this task force?
I am not, sir.
Okay. Well, James, let me make this really simple. Tell me how to vote.
I can tell you very simply, sir, these are life safety systems, but they are cookie cutter systems. Okay. We do one system over and over and over again. So if you picture all the body shops in the state that have a one car paint booth, they all have essentially the same fire system. Right. So this is an industry that to get a technician from zero to completely up to speed and running is only about a 6-month process. Right? For somebody that's challenged, it's only a year, maybe, right? But it is certainly not 3 years. These are products that are with mechanical pulleys and cables, and then a pressurized tank with powder in it that discharges agent out into the space. The certification class from the manufacturers is a 8-hour class, right? And then we take the liability to sell to them and allow them to go install this product. Right? It is not a complicated product, right? And it's meant to be done at a basic level over and over and over and over again. To require a 3-year renewal or a 3-year waiting period to get into the industry is wasting 2.5 years of everyone's time for every single person. So I would say, sir, vote this down. Our original option 2, which is still going to be voted on evidently, it gives us a waiting period to discuss some sort of work requirement that might be appropriate.
Yeah, thank you, James, for that. And if you guys could divulge me at 20 seconds, I'm the only home builder on this tag, and I am hypersensitive to costs. And considering I've got 2 of my upcoming builds are being required to be fire sprinklered, including, of course, my phone wouldn't just go off at that moment. Including one house with a fire hydrant right across the street from it, not 4 blocks from a City of Kirkland fire station, okay, and not 4 blocks from Google's second world headquarters. And I'm being demanded to fire sprinkler a home, which will come at quite a large investment of cost. So yes, I am hypersensitive to anything that adds cost to anything that we build, to anything that adds cost to a business, and at the same time, fully recognize the importance of health safety. So that's it. I went over 20 seconds. I apologize. Thank you, James, for your information. I will be voting this proposal down for your recommendations. Thank you.
Thanks. And James, your hand is up. I do want to be sensitive to time.
I'll go ahead and lower it and then sort of let everything happen and then talk at the end if I need to, but I'll lower it at the moment for time.
Fair enough. Zach? Or Zachary, if I may.
Yeah, thanks.
Don't want
The requirement for ICC NAFED for pre-engineered industrial fire extinguishing systems has been in our WAC since 2021 July. So it shouldn't be new to anybody in the industry at this point. So I guess I'm a little confused when people are saying that there hasn't been anybody or there isn't enough technicians. How have they been getting the work done for the last few years? Then would be my question for for everybody here that has a concern with this 3-year waiting period. I mean, they should already have it already. It should be actually getting ready to renew it.
In many cases, it's because it's only being enforced on state enforced properties. So a lot of the businesses have made business decisions that it's not worth paying for that certification if nobody's requiring it. And in many parts of this state, nobody is requiring it.
All right, Joshua.
Hey, my name is Josh Garcia with Alexander Gale Fire. And I just want to put a little bit of context in this. So we specialize in pre-engineered kitchen fire suppression inspections and pre-engineered industrial fire inspections. In 2023, if we talk about just kitchen systems alone, we did 1,629 inspections in the Seattle area. Had we had more technicians, we could have done more. There's a ton of work out there that needs to be done. And I've got currently 10 technicians that have an ICC for pre-engineered kitchen systems. Okay. If we talk about the renewal and we need a renewed certificate to do this work, I go down to 5 technicians. Now, ultimately here, we're talking about life safety of the general public, right? We're going to have, that's just me. I know Mary is on here. She could speak to AAA, but I go from 10 to 5 technicians. So this work is not going to be getting done. If you make that renewal a part of this, that's just for Alexander Gale Fire. But I just wanted to put that out there as a little bit of context. We would be doing a lot less inspections. Ultimately, public is less safe. And then when we're trying to figure out who we're going to do, who we're going to take care of. Well, we're going to raise our prices, right? And that'll help us narrow it down. So now the public is paying more to get their stuff done, and a lot of it won't get done. So that's what I have.
Okay, thanks, Joshua. And I forget your first name from White Knight. You are on mute.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me now, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Andy Schwartz and I own White Knight Fire Protection. And I want to say this, like Josh said, he'd go down to 5 techs. I would go down to 1. And the thing is, like those of us that have been working in the industry, in my case, about 20 years, we have experience. And in fact, if you worked in the Seattle area, in Seattle City, you had to have passed very similar tests. And, we have years and years and years of experience, but the ICC requirement in Washington State is new. So if you're going to say that we have to have renewed certificates, we haven't had enough time to have all our guys go get renewed certificates. And it doesn't mean that we don't know what we're doing. It's very far from it. The idea that, somebody would come off the street, take an ICC test, and then go and potentially do a bunch of shoddy work in the field, I don't think is realistic. The companies that do this work have been doing this work for 30, 40 years in this area. I'm a newcomer. My company is a newcomer, and we've been doing this work for 11 years in this area. And I did it in California prior, but I just don't see that a language with a certificate renewal is going to achieve what everybody wants. And I think it will have a disastrous effect on our industry and the constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. I thought there was one more hand, but that hand, Lance Dahl.
Yes, sir. I just raised mine. In the city of Spokane, we've had a registration process for anybody that works on life safety systems for 30 years, well before the state had NICET requirements. We had our own NICET requirements, but we also allowed for range hoods and range hood certification and that type of stuff, language that related to manufacturers training and courses and manufacturer certification for these systems. Why can't we include some language that takes that into account for experience until we get to a renewal or some other type of experience requirement. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Lance. James?
Yes, sir. It was at the end. Nobody was raising their hand, so I thought I'd sort of summarize. But I see Mary Crinbring has her hand go up, so you want to let her go first, and then I'll finish up.
Okay, Mary? Mary Crinbring?
You're muted, Mary.
Sorry.
There you go.
Sorry. Yes. Similarly to Alexander Gowan White Knight, I'm from AAA Fire Protection in Seattle, and we have 10 ICC NAFED certified technicians. And if you accounted for the waiting period, we would go down to 3. And last year we serviced over 2,500 kitchen suppression systems and pre-engineered suppression systems. And that will leave an enormous gap in the providers. Plus, there are no training programs for these technicians outside of our companies training these technicians. So a 3-year waiting period would be extremely detrimental to our industry and to fire and life safety in our state.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Mike?
Yeah, I call the question.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve the option number 1 that was sent out with the minutes that is on the screen. It does include the renewed certification and the 2 exceptions. So Dustin, I believe that you go through a roll call vote.
Yes.
Is
Jacob,
that going to get to finish, sir?
What's that? Somebody called the question, which after a fair amount of discussion, that means we need to go ahead and vote.
Oh, understood. I apologize. I thought I was going to get to finish there, but I guess not.
All right. Jacob Liddycoat?
Deny.
Quinn Tai?
Disapprove.
Ken Brulette?
No.
Hugo Sotelo?
Clarification, what was the motion about? I thought we were going over the language.
So
Sorry.
the motion, I guess, Ricky, if you mind, wouldn't restating the motion, please?
Yes, it's to approve all these changes that you see in highlighted. So clarification, clarifying some of the stuff that had missed in the past. And then as far as their emergency ruling, we're adding recertification to their statement. So I did include cleaning up the language as part of my motion, and I still stand with it.
Okay. So I'm going to vote no.
Okay. Mike Nykram?
Voting no.
Bill Mybush?
I vote yes.
Ricky Campbell?
Yeah.
Walker Danucci?
Vote no.
I believe Sean Morgan's out at this point, so we'll be calling on the alternate Kevin Marr.
Yes.
And Zachary Tuck.
Yes.
And I have one more, sorry, Lance Dahl.
No.
All right, the motion fails 2 to 1, 2. No, sorry, hold on. 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 to 7, it fails.
Okay, I am just going to suggest we still have ways to move forward on this, and I see hands up. Ken, go ahead.
I'd like to move the other proposal, if you could show it, that came from NAFED that moved the effective date.
I don't know. Are you guys familiar with this, or do you want to go over it so you can read it? I can put it back at a larger font. I was just trying to get the entirety of this proposal up on screen here in this section.
Yeah, the entirety of the proposal is that it's changing the effective date from July 1 of 2024 to January 1 of 2025.
So, Ken, just to be clear, your motion is to approve option 2 of what was submitted to the SBCC.
If that was option 2, I'm sorry, I think I got
believe
mixed
it
up
was,
between
and
options.
that's actually what I want to be clear on. It is not what was attached to the meeting minutes.
No, this was what was discussed at a SBCC meeting that we were asked as a tag to discuss. So that's why I'm putting forward the motion to approve the language in front of you with changing the effective date. Thanks.
Okay, do I have a second? Any seconds?
I will second it.
Okay, Walker seconded it first. So discussion. And Ken, I would ask, I did read through this 2 weeks ago at the SBCC meeting, but can you, again, the Reader's Digest, so the proposal is to move the start date out 6 months. The purpose being what, or how does that achieve what the proponent has requested?
Well, my understanding is the proponent would like to work with the organization, the building code council, fire marshals, whomever, to look at if we need to make any changes to this language, we can do it in an off-cycle rule instead of trying to do this in an emergency rule. So we can all come to agreement on what would be the best language. So this just gives us some time to work together. So since this was brought to the council the last minute, obviously there's some disagreement in what should be going forward. So this allows the tag and the proponent to work together to come up with some favorable language that can be presented to building code council in more of a favorable fashion than what we've seen on the last 2 votes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Thank you, Ken.
I would just, well, let me formally raise my hand. I would just say, simply put, thank you, Ken, for bringing up the motion. We would, if the state of Washington and the TAG and the SBCC really does want this work requirement of some kind, we would love to be a constructive participant in that process. All the way through to come up with something practical that works for this workforce and that keeps the state of Washington safe. We would absolutely love to work with everyone to do that. So thank you, Ken, for the motion. I'm in support of it.
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, Dustin, I think it's we have a motion and a second. So let's do a roll call vote. And you are muted. I don't know if you're.
Apologies, Jacob Liddycoat. I'm sorry, was that a
approved?
Yes?
Oh, yes.
Approve, okay. Gotcha. Quinn Ty?
Yes.
Ken Brulette?
Yes, and I will have to log off after this vote. I apologize.
Hugo Sotelo?
Yes.
Mike Nykrum?
That would be a no.
Bill Bush?
Yes.
Ricky Campbell?
Yes.
Walker Danucci?
Yes, approved.
Kevin Marr?
Yes.
Zach Tuck?
Yes.
And Lance Dahl?
Yes.
The motion carries and 10-1.
Okay, so just so everybody's clear, this both a description of the discussion as well as the approval of option 2 will go to the, used to be the MVP, but now it's what? It's the Building,
Building, fire, and plumbing, I do believe.
Yeah.
You're gonna be lying if I
It's-
start doing it from memory.
it's the standing committee, which puts, looks at proposals from various tags that come together, and then it will get moved on to this SBCC, full SBCC at the May meeting. So, and I will also just editorialize for those that are new to the tag. This sometimes can seem frustrating, and we're talking about, a word here or there, but from my experience on the State Building Code Council, that actually is what ends up at the end of the process, we end up with the best code possible. So while the process can sometimes seem a little challenging, we end up with a really good code, hopefully. So James, go ahead.
The name of this middle committee and some advice, do I need to participate in that meeting, or is that something that just automatically happens and then it goes to the SBCC? A little guidance would be, and the name of it would be appreciated.
I am going to ask Dustin, I believe that it is a public meeting, is it not?
It is a public meeting, and it would be my recommendation to attend. There
Yeah.
may be questions that come down from members who are on that committee who are not part of this group here.
Okay, and what's the name of the committee so I can make sure I track the meeting correctly?
Give me one moment, I'll pull it up.
And it is scheduled for, now, if you get the name, I'll get the schedule.
It's the Building, Fire, Residential, and WUI Code Committee.
And it is
Building, Fire, Residential what?
And Wildland Urban Interface Code. And that's scheduled for May 17th.
Yes. At 1 o'clock right now. At least that's what's
And it's on
blocked
the-
out. That's what
it's
it
on the
may not.
website.
It may not be on the website. It is blocked out on my. Actually, it is.
It's on the website. There's no documents or agenda prepared for that meeting as of this moment.
Right.
As we, the next couple of weeks, we'll get that prepped. And as things are slated to go onto that meeting, they'll start to populate on this webpage. So if you go to the sbcc.wa.gov website, on the right-hand side, if you're on a desktop, there's an upcoming meetings section. And in there, this one's on that one. And if you're looking for something that might be a little farther out, you can click see all events and you can see past meetings and future meetings that are scheduled at this point.
Okay, if I have any trouble finding it, I'll reach out to you, Dustin, but I think I got that. Thank you.
It is officially the BFRW committee.
The BFRW.
Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 5, review of work completed and received by staff. And Dustin, I believe that you're going to run this and summarize.
Yep. So we are still looking for the bulk of the chapters to come back. We've received chapter 33 from Ken. We got a report from Quinn, and he had some questions on it. And as far as getting ready to talk about the portions in the chapters that we received back, staff is not quite ready to have that conversation because we haven't put together our presentation for everybody. So the plan here is once we get back chapters, and I've just been a little busy this last week and I'm catching up now. I'll be prepared for this in the next meeting next week. We intend to show the chapters we have back. I'd like to kind of make a cutoff if we don't receive the chapter by Thursday this week, that we don't want to include it in the agenda for the meeting next week. And that way it'll give us time to get that squared away. But we're going to look to integrate anything that we have into our master documents and post them on the webpage for review by Thursday for everybody to have commentary on at the next tag meeting. And then that's kind of how I want to run it is we get the chapters back, we get them put together so that we can present them to everybody. And as we were looking at the chapter assignments document that we sent out, there's some color coding on there that kind of indicates whether or not we have received those chapters back yet. So yellow indicates that they've been distributed out, but we're still waiting on those back from everybody. The green would be, or I believe Hold on, let me open this up. I'm gonna get I'm gonna start lying if I'm not looking at it at the same time. Okay, let me change my share. Quinn, you got a hand up?
Yeah, I mean, we could probably talk about it next week, but the main question I had, it's probably a lot about process. So when I went through my chapters, 1207 ESS, that there was a huge change between the 2021 and 2027. I mean, 24. So I wasn't sure in terms of recommendations because the amendments that we have currently is basically almost going to be obsolete because of the wholesale change that they have.
Mhm.
You know, so I don't know. I mean, that's something to discuss in the future meetings, I guess.
Yeah, that one, I was just getting a look at that and I didn't quite have the time to really fully digest that before this meeting here today. So I guess give me some time to check that one out. And I did check into your spreadsheet there, and you're kind of recommending that we rework the whole chapter and make sure that, you know, I guess if amendments have moved around or like I'm not familiar with the changes just yet. And so, but I think what you've got there is good start off, and maybe me and you can set aside a little bit of time here later on this week to discuss what we want to put forward as far as the report contents.
Okay, sounds good.
Dustin, I'm actually going to expand on that question and maybe explain a little bit better because I'm faced with something similar on some of the chapters on the IBC that I'm doing. I have a chapter where we have the seismic provisions, and it appears as though a whole lot of the state amendment has been picked up in the 24 IBC and or for me ASCE 7, the updated ASCE 7. My recommendation, and you know, we've not had an IBC meeting, but what I put in mind was this is complicated. We need to go back through as a tag and make sure that that you know everything was picked up in the new code. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it's you're not relying purely on me to go through and say, yes, it's been completely picked up. You know, it is a big task, so we're gonna you know, move it forward. There's a group that needs to study it and make sure. So
Yeah, Roger, I had the same thing. So my recommendation is that we just remove the amendment. But yeah, I get what you're saying too.
hey, I actually said we need to study it to make sure that everything gets picked up, and we may need to modify the amendment if, you know, 3/4 of it got picked up. We may want to modify the amendment to maintain the last quarter. And
So I shared a website that I found. Did you see my email? Yeah. So I thought that was a pretty good one where it compares word by word our amendment versus the 24 code. And to me, it's like if I see 100%, you know, word by word, then that means we don't need the amendment.
Mine was, there are like 4 different sections. So the IBC references ASCE 7, a reference document, and a whole bunch of the information was in the ASCE 7, but it isn't word for word. So I have to go back and kind of compare, you know, have they picked up everything? And it is kind of complex. So anyway,
So
that
on
was,
some of these,
go ahead.
on some of these larger sections that we're saying, you know, there's been a lot of model code change and may pick up the amendment, and maybe the recommendation is to remove the Washington amendment to the section because it's covered by the model language. Would it, I guess, be beneficial to the tag to maybe set aside additional time to go over those as a group to do that, and then we could maybe disseminate this particular sections to the group and say, hey, there's a lot of change here going on, could we review this, and then have it maybe a specific section for talking about that in our agenda next week for make sure we're kind of getting more eyes on this as it's a complex nature.
Yeah, in fact, Dustin, what I would, this is a question for you as far as process goes, but you know, for the May council meeting, if the tags have 2 or 3 or 4 chapters or sections of chapters that are really complex that we want to continue to study, I mean, I think that makes sense, because over the next few months, we're going to be starting to get proposals. So that's some work. You know, the complex one, let's take our time over the next month or 2 or 3 and make sure that it's complete and we go through it completely. So that's kind of
I do
my,
believe that there's, or I do believe that there's room to submit a report with some comments on a chapter that might be a little more complex than the bulk of the chapters. And we have some time to polish in that proposal period after the May meeting.
okay.
All righty. So Ken had to leave after that last vote. So his chapter 33 we have back. And we haven't integrated that into the stuff for presenting to the tag as a whole. Quinn, we got some stuff from there. I hope we got your question. I'd like to set aside some time and make sure that we're gonna fully answer that here maybe after this meeting as far as the process and what we want to do further. But it sounds like we want to bring maybe section 1207 to the whole tag and talk about it, so we can make a dissemination of that document to everybody so that we can have eyes on it before the meeting. And other than that, is anybody encountering any hardships in the work? Are we on track to meet our May 3rd? And if we're not 100% at May 3rd, we still have a couple weeks, but we were looking for the bulk of it to be done by May 3rd so we can start discussing it in the following weeks at the tag meetings. Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Dustin. I've seen that I've been assigned a few chapters, but I still have not received any packages yet on those chapters.
Okay. Then I will, as soon as we're done with the meeting here today, I will get with the admin and we will make sure you get those here this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns about the work we're doing here at the moment?
Yeah, this is Ricky Campbell. I am currently working on chapter 5, and I know Mike is going to be helping me with this. Mike, I was going to reach out to you today. I just didn't have time to reach out to you, but I was going to shoot over my work that I've done on chapter 5, let you look at it, or I don't know if you have started on it yet or not, but just kind of bounce ideas of you. But I just continue to work on what I got.
Awesome. So I don't have a whole lot more for this meeting as far as timing goes. I'd be looking to get to work on my chapters as well here. So if we didn't have anything else, I would maybe hand it back to Roger for the rest of the meeting.
Okay, I will ask item number 6 on the agenda is other business. Does anybody have any other business? Hearing none, we'll give everybody 40 minutes back and maybe they can work on their homework. I guess I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.